Thank you for joining us this evening for the Princeton Adult Schools Social Media Strategy for Authors. And so this is a class that really is an introduction to social media strategy. We're not going to deep dive into how to use any particular social media platform, but I'm going to introduce a bunch to you. We're going to talk a bit at a high level about strategy. Of course, any specific questions that you have, please ask, and I will answer any that I'm able to. But it's not trying to teach you how to use Facebook or teach you how to use LinkedIn or Goodreads or any of the others that are out there, really just to more introduce social media as a concept. Certainly as authors, or if you are a fairly new author, it can be a slow process before you begin to get a little bit of name and brand recognition. It's not uncommon for first-time and young authors, I don't mean in terms of age, but in terms of your writing career, to take a while to be noticed and to be found. And so using social media, promoting yourself online is a great tool, a great way for you to be able to potentially improve your chances of being found out, being the title, so the title is found out, and hopefully you can increase sales and other activity that you may be hoping to attain. So I'll just quickly introduce myself. Some of you may remember when a presentation starts, the curtain opens. So that's me, David Schuchman, and I am an IT professional. My entire career has been in information technology. I started with a computer science degree in college and then became a programmer. For the last 6-7 years, I've had my own company called Princeton Technology Advisors, based in Princeton. And the types of things that we do website development for my clients. Sometimes it's more simple. I just help update or maintain websites. So someone will send me a new web page to add, but not really building a site, just adding or updating content. Other technology projects that are more managed service oriented, like making sure offices have virus protection and backups, things like that, different project management. And I do also help with search engine marketing and email marketing and search engine optimization. And I am not planning to cover search engine optimization, but if you want me to, I've actually got hidden slides that I can talk to. So if you're not exhausted at the end in your game, we will do that. It's not really a social media strategy, but it can help your website be found a little. I added SEO to the social media program a couple of years ago when I started getting questions. And then because it was another, I don't know, 6 slides or so, a few people said it was too much, it was overload. So now I took it out, but I've got them ready if you're game. And I'm also an active blogger, or I should say now I'm an inactive blogger. I haven't blogged in a little while, but always blogged on technology topics. But I wrote to my audience who were not technical people. So I was not writing to a technical audience. And that's one theme that we'll talk about here, is knowing your audience, the audience that's right for you. So let's first talk about what is social media, or define what is social media. And so this was what I had found as a definition a couple of years ago, and I thought this was perfect. It's a collective of online communication channels, notice that's underlined, dedicated to community-based input, interaction, content sharing, and collaboration. And of course, I'm reading it word for word because it's a definition that I just thought was perfect. It is a collective of online communication channels. And as I began to think about this, I thought, well, not only do I think this is a terrific definition, it's also, especially for people who are new to social media, a bit confusing. So I thought I would simplify it, and it's basically using the internet to share information. That's what social media is about. And certainly social media has been in the news a lot over the past few years. Again, we're not going to make this a political discussion, but it is a platform where people are able to get their message out and share to other people. And so it's gotten a lot of media attention because of that, certainly. So think of it as you're going to use the internet to share information with other people. And I underlined communication channels because these are among the groups, the types of information channels or communication channels you can have. And this diagram is called spoke and hub. And if you think of it like a wheel or a bicycle tire, the spoke are on the outside and the hub is on the inside. And I very specifically put the hub as your website. No matter what you post on social media, whether you're doing certain social media sites, you're doing email marketing, if you're doing any e-commerce, whatever you're doing, the content you typically put in different locations might be very narrow or specific. But your website talks about everything about you. So everything comes back to your website, or everything comes from your website. And so your website can have lots of web pages, lots of pictures, lots of content. And so that's why it's the big circle in the center, but it can connect to any of these things at any time as you build out your social media strategy. So this is a philosophy or strategy that I subscribe to, the spoken hub format. So why is online presence so important? And so that's really kind of the big question. Well, first of all, your readers expect you to be there, or your audience, no matter what you're doing online. They expect you to be there. And the reason why is we're searching all the time online, whether we're shopping for products or searching for new information. We are constantly searching online. And so the things we're looking for, we expect that it will be there available to us online, hopefully without too much difficulty in searching. Also, being online, your website and the other social media places that you can be, those other sites, they give you and your brand really professional credibility. So that becomes very important. Just like you must have a business card if you're in business, you must have a website, and you must also begin to be online in other places as well. It's an opportunity for you to demonstrate your professional experience, your interests, your knowledge. So you really can talk a lot, demonstrate that you are the subject matter expert in your area, or that you know really what you've been writing about, that you're an expert in the background of that information. So it really demonstrates your professionalism and your experience when you have a presence online. If you are not yet known, this is one way that people really begin to find out about you. Because when you're not known, people don't search for you. They're not going to search for David Schuchman if they don't know David Schuchman, but they may be interested in looking for somebody who develops websites in central New Jersey. So they're going to do searches based on descriptive words, keywords. We're going to talk more about that in a moment, and hopefully you can be found a bit more reliably. And the bottom line is, if you're not found online, you're irrelevant. Now, I don't mean to say that to insult you. I certainly am not saying at all what you're writing about is irrelevant or you are personally irrelevant. But if someone is searching for someone like you, if someone is searching for a genre of writing and you don't come up, well, they're not going to buy it, or they're not going to reach out to you. They're not going to contact you. And so functionally, you're irrelevant. I can tell you with 100% certainty this statement is true for the following two reasons. One is it's in bold red. I wouldn't have put it here in bold red if it wasn't true. And the other is I read it on the internet. And if you read it on the internet, it must be true, right? By the way, that's not true. If you read it on the internet, it may not be true. It may be people expressing their opinion and not fact. A little bit different than news outlets that do have a code of ethics that they must subscribe to. But social media, we are at our own will. It looks like someone else just joined us, so welcome. So we did get started a few minutes ago. Sorry you're joining a little late, but I am recording this, and that will be available later along with the slides. Okay. And we're just a couple of slides in. So online presence is important because if you are not found, your business, your writing can be irrelevant or harder to be found over time. Now, if you want to benefit from social media, you need to build a strategy that really takes into account the things that you want to accomplish. And so that's what we're going to talk mostly about today, is social media strategy and types of tools that you can use. Remember, we really won't deep dive into any of the individual tools very much, but we'll talk about them in general. So we really want to talk about social media strategy, whether it's for you as an author or any other means or need that you want to be able to promote your message or your business or anything else. And this is a diagram that really kind of talks about social media strategy. And remember, you'll download the slides, but you're welcome to take a screenshot. You know, you certainly start with taking goals. Among the goals, you want to identify as, you know, who's my audience? Because believe it or not, you're not trying to reach everybody. You're trying to reach a targeted audience. If you're writing, and you probably know as readers, certain genres you like and certain genres you don't enjoy as much. And so you want to determine your audience. Once you determine your audience, where are the best places to promote that? Some are good for certain people and some are not as good for those people. And then you begin to create content. It could be written content, images and pictures, video, whatever you want to do, and you post that. That's the implementation. And then before you wrap that all up, you start seeing what is the performance. Is it working well? Am I reaching my audience? Am I achieving my goals? And if not, then you begin to adjust. You may update your goals or update the audience, and it becomes a little bit of a circle. Now, this isn't an endless circle, but you may go through this a few times before you really kind of find the mark that's just right for you. And so this is the kind of the outline that supports the social media strategy. So as you set your goals, you certainly need to know your audience. You need to know who you want to interact with in social media or on anything online. You want to know who's going to read your book, what type of people that's going to be. And so that becomes very important. You know, if you went to buy a car and you wanted to buy a red car and the salesman wanted to sell you a blue car, that salesman will not sell a car that day. And so it's really very similar. That salesman doesn't know the audience. Then you think about what type of content you'll post. Some people who are authors will put snippets of their book. Some people will put other supporting information. Some people will put other stories that kind of support it. You might include pictures. If your work tends to be based on nonfiction, you may have other stories or anecdotes around it as well to support what you're writing. So you have to decide the type of content that you want to post. And then also think of the frequency. How often will you post? What's too much? What's not enough? I can tell you, I don't know the answer because it could be different, and it is different for different audiences, and where you'll post also. So it'll be different places as well. And also, you need to be aware of how to use different social media platforms. Reaching an audience through, let's say, Facebook is going to be different than email marketing. And so you need to use them both effectively. If you post it every day in Facebook, well, that's fine. And you're really not going to upset anybody. They can ignore it. But if you sent an email every day, maybe they will be annoyed because they're getting a message from you every day in the mailbox. Now, I'm not telling you one every day is wrong or every week is wrong, but just think of a little bit of a context is different social media platforms or online channels are going to be viewed and worked a little bit differently. And you have to figure that out for yourself because it's your audience. And then what do you want to happen as a result of your activity? So if you're an author, you probably want to say, well, sell more books, and that's fine, or reach a larger audience, and that's fine. But you really begin to have to quantify that a little bit. And you'll have to set those goals for yourself. And certainly sales numbers can change as you improve your visibility and being found online as well. So, but it could just be you're looking for likes, you know, that kind of thing, and clicks and views. You're not looking to sell books. Goals are different online for different reasons. So who's your audience besides that room full of people? And again, anytime you'd like, just unmute yourself and ask a question. No worries at all. We're a small group, so it's not going to be disruptive at all. So if I'm either going a little too fast or if you want to stop me with a question, you're certainly welcome to do so. The bottom line is your audience is who you want to meet, who you want to reach. That's who your audience is. I'm a tech person. My audience in social media will be different than your audience as an author. And so it's going to be different. And maybe based on your genre, your audience is going to be a little different. Or at the stage you are in your writing career, your audience may be a little bit different. You may have a very targeted audience right now. Maybe as you develop a bit more, you'll have a broader audience. So you need to understand what's important to your audience and how to communicate with them. So at a high level, things like if your audience is younger, and I'm not going to quote an age number, you might be using different sites than if your audience is an older audience. So there are different criteria you need to understand. If your audience are more business oriented, you might reach them a little differently than if they're more consumer oriented. And the way you write is going to be different. The locations, the social media channels that you use could be different. So you need to understand your audience. So I can't tell you what it is right for your audience. You'll have to figure that out on your own. Remember, it's a circular strategy, and it's a little bit of trial and error, or try and adjust. If your audience is kind of consumer-based, end user, probably the kind of information you can write about, you can use layperson terms. So if you're going to write something fairly technical to a non-technical group, you'll have to explain it or use softer terms. And so again, I'm a tech person, and typically when I write to a non-technical audience. If I was writing to my peers, I would write more technically. So if your audience is more industry-based, you have to make sure you use industry and technical terms. And you have to understand your audience. And these are just some examples. So as an author, who is your audience? And this is a list that I got from this gentleman, Kevin Cruz. He's an author. So he must be an authority for authors if he's an author. And he's a New York Times best-selling author. So there are a number of audiences that you as an author may be wanting to reach. Maybe all of them, or maybe one or two of them, or maybe one at a time and all of them. You have to figure that out. Well, certainly the person who reads, that might be someone you would want to reach. Your network of fans, family, friends, clients, people, individuals that read the genre that you're writing about. And you would say, absolutely. But if you think about it, to be known and to be found as an author, you certainly have to sell a lot of books. So unless you have a lot of friends and a lot of clients, that may take a little bit of a while. But nothing wrong to be aware that your audience may be the people closest to you. It could also be someone who just browses in a bookstore. So you don't know these people, but these are people that might stumble across your book when they're shopping. So if you can get on a shelf or on a list on Amazon, they may find it, take an interest, and buy it. So still more of an individual, but outside of your more personal network. And this could typically be a larger group of people than just the people that you know. And then there are people that buy these books, but they tend to be people that are buying for others or maybe for groups. There was one boss that I had when we would work on certain projects. He would buy these project management books and these other stories. So one book I had received from him was kind of the mindset of the Disney Corporation, how they view success, and he'd hope that the team would read it and become more successful. Could be professors buying it for students, in this case executives like my boss, or someone buying a gift for a group of friends. So that could be also a wider group. And then there's the retail buyer, and the retail buyer isn't the one who cruises the aisles and the stacks, but this is the person who buys for the bookstore. So you may want to try and reach out to someone who is a book buyer who would look to stock shelves, because one connection might become a large sale. So that may be as well. So your audience could be someone like the purchaser or the buyer for inventory. And then of course, the media, people that review books, book reviewers, that may be part of your audience as well. So if they think the book is interesting enough, you may get on a reader's list, or you may start to get some attention. Oprah Winfrey was very famous for having her book club. I'm not sure if she still does that, but what's Oprah reading this week? And then people would go out and buy it when she talked about it. So you're not going to be able to be on all of these right away. This will have to build up over time. But the thing is, what I'm suggesting you do is think past the individual, because you have to communicate to a lot of individuals to sell individual books. But if you can come further down the chain here, you can sell a lot of books to one individual. And that may be a way to get yourself a bit of traction. So as you start reaching out to these people, you have to think about, what's your message going to be? What should social media be about? And the bottom line is, most people think it's about me. How can you help me? You can help me by buying my book. Me, 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 me. And that's really a very selfish attitude. Really, when you're online, social media should be how you can help your audience. How may I help you? And if you think about the people you would want to help the most, you're probably most willing to help, or don't even think twice about helping someone who's helped you in the past. Clearly your family and closest friends, but maybe a neighbor who's offered you a little bit of help. So you always want to think about helping the other person, or providing information, or informing them, or teaching them because it's important to them. So really what you want to do is, you want to just provide good value in the message that you promote in your social media. You should provide a lot of value in what you're sharing, and it's more of the quality over quantity. And I can't tell you what the quantity it is, because every audience is going to be a little bit different. But if you remember that spoken hub that I showed you before, no matter where you are out in the spokes, you should have a link back to your website. That's the spokes going into the website in the center, that hub. So, and then on the website, you could talk a whole lot about yourself. So if you put a post out about one specific topic, at the end in your signature, maybe you'll put your website, or you could put something like, to read more, click here, and direct them to my website, your website. And then you could talk about a lot more about yourself, and hopefully that generates some interest. Providing value is what's important. So everyone asks me in this presentation, what's the best platform? The bottom line is, it depends. But I found this chart actually just today. I previously had the 2016 chart. This is the 2020 chart. If you are in a B2B marketplace, if you're promoting B2B, B2B content marketers typically use, or mostly use, LinkedIn. So you certainly would want to have a LinkedIn profile and talk about not only your book, but the theme, the genre, stories about it. You want to become someone who talks about this, and consider being on LinkedIn. Also consider being on Twitter and Facebook. So those tend to be the platforms that B2B marketers use the most. And a little on the side, there are the ones that are maybe up and coming, or platforms not yet having generated a lot. You also see YouTube and Instagram. Those are very video and image oriented. So still good platforms to be on. So when I make this class video available later, it'll actually be on my YouTube channel. I'll give you a link. But this is what's most common. If you want to read the whole article, the link at the bottom will get you to it. And when you download the document, if you didn't get a screenshot of this right now, the link will be in the slide deck, and you can click on it and read the whole article then as well. On the other hand, if you are B2C, if your audience are more consumer-based, look, Facebook popped right up to the top. Not really a big surprise. But Instagram and YouTube, a lot of people are using, on a consumer level, video to express and promote a lot more. So it would not be unreasonable maybe to put a little 1-minute infomercial together if you'd like. You could probably have your computer camera record it for you, or your cell phone, and then do a little simple editing and put it on your YouTube channel. And LinkedIn, less used by the consumer rather than the business people. LinkedIn is still a large platform. We'll be talking a little bit more about Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter just a little later, but just wanted to show you kind of the difference between when B2B marketers, the platforms they use, versus the B2C marketers. And you have to decide how you're marketing and who you're marketing to. Oh, there's our first intermission. So any questions right now? Do you need to take a breath? Take a break? Yeah.
So I have an extensive LinkedIn profile, but can I make a second one, like one for a book, or does LinkedIn permit me to have two profiles?
So I've heard two answers. One answer is LinkedIn doesn't care how many profiles you have, and the other is LinkedIn doesn't like you to have multiple profiles. Here's the problem with having multiple profiles. Which version of the profile of you should I look at? If I find your name, how do I know which person you are?
I'd probably spell it a little differently or something.
Well,
I'm just saying, I have a huge extensive one that I'm not going to want to change just if I publish one book, you know, because they're not connected.
If you have a pen name, then I would say you do want a separate profile.
That's a good idea.
If you don't have a pen name, if you were, the same, you're Elizabeth, right? So,
right.
So I would say do not have a separate profile on LinkedIn. The reason why is there's plenty of people that have the same name, just the way it is, and you may confuse your audience. Also, if your audience sees a business profile and a writing profile, they may start questioning, what's this person all about? I would say on LinkedIn, the value is you create a profile for the brand that you want to present. So even if you had, let's say, a large corporate career and you're now moving into writing or being a subject matter expert or a thought leader, begin to put a lot more of that into your LinkedIn profile. So in general, I would say keep one profile. But again, if you're going to have a pen name that's separate, I think then that's fine. And I would use that same approach if you're on Facebook, Twitter, or any of the others, because for people who are following you, you may just confuse them.
Thank you.
So, my opinion. Sure, good question. Any other questions, thoughts?
I do have a question.
Okay.
I guess maybe I'd just like your take on this. I follow a number of authors online, mostly on Twitter, and it seems the ones that use it most successfully have a certain persona that comes across. Works best if you're funny or something like that, no matter what you're writing about. One author who writes a lot about, fantasy, that's kind of horror fantasy, is actually a very funny person, and that's actually helped boost his book sales. So I guess maybe not so much a question, but a take on that. Is that an advantage? Is it, I can see where that might come back and maybe to haunt you, or, if you maybe inadvertently say something on Twitter that really, rubs people the wrong way, and before you know it, you've got yourself some trouble. So I guess I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
So at the 50,000-foot view, if you're afraid of using Twitter because you might write something that will be taken the wrong way, the flip side is don't use Twitter and people won't know about you. So that's the 50,000-foot view. And so the way I would approach it is I would look to be on Twitter, and I will do my best not to put my foot in my mouth. If you're asking me my opinion about using humor, I like using humor a whole lot, but don't use humor if you don't know how to use it, because you can slip, and you have to be comfortable. I do a lot of in-person presentations, and I'm in front of audiences, and I've gotten a bit comfortable, and I know for me my limits, and so you have to decide if that's right or not. Oh, there you are. I thought everyone disappeared. And so just be careful using humor that way, but otherwise I don't have a problem with it. Also realize from a humor perspective, not everybody has the same sense of humor, even though people enjoy comedy. So, you know, you have to kind of be for everybody. Don't work blue humor and dirty jokes and that kind of thing. Of course, if that's what you're writing about, an area of controversy, I guess you can get away with it a little bit. But I would not shy away from Twitter. I would not shy away from any of the sites where your audience would be. Instead, I would be attentive to writing the type of information and in a style that I believe my audience would appreciate and would associate with my book or other publications.
Okay, thank you.
So that's the long answer to yes. Good. Anything else at this point? All right, so we will move along. There we go. So just like at the end of all intermissions, the curtain opens again. So let's talk about some social media sites that you may want to consider using as an author. So there's one called Amazon. Maybe you've heard of this. Now, Amazon actually started as an online bookseller. That's what they just started as. And now they are the largest e-commerce or e-tailer in the world. And that's what they've become. But they started in 1994 just as a bookseller. Not sure you may remember, Netflix did not stream video. They used to just have a mail video renting service by mail. They branched out too. So they have 3 self-publishing services. So if you are not yet working with a publishing consultant or someone that can really help you beyond just editing, you may want to look at some of these publishing services that they make available. You can publish your book or any of your writings as what's called publish to Kindle. And it's actually a free service that they have. They want to help you as an author begin to publish your book as an ebook. So that's one service that they do have available. Another is called Publish to Print. And so you are basically creating and publishing and distributing your book or any of your content worldwide in print. So they can help you with that. And then the other is Publish to Audio. And they have this thing called Audio Book Creation Exchange. And you create a professional audio book. You can take your book and have it published as audio. Now, the one thing I would just caution you about, a publishing consultant told me this. One of the things that you will want to get, especially for a book, is what's called an ISBN, the unique number that identifies your book. You can get that from a lot of these publishing services, including Amazon. You can get your ISBN from Amazon. But what I was told was, don't get an ISBN from Amazon, because the other booksellers tend not to carry or promote any inventory of Amazon ISBN. So reach out to one of the other companies that will help you with that. BookBaby, I think, is one that will do it, and some others. Kind of get your ISBN from an independent authorizing agent, not Amazon. But these other services for promoting and publishing the content beyond the ISBN may be helpful for you. Another that Amazon has is called Author Central. And it's another Amazon company. Actually, a number of the companies we'll talk about here and sites are Amazon based. So it's really an extension of Amazon already. You may have seen this when you've looked at and shopped on Amazon for written content. And you can click on the author's name and you can have a page about the author. So you can get that too. It's called Author Central. So it's kind of like your home page on Amazon. You can put all sorts of information, you know, your web address, your biography, photos, links to all your books that you're selling. So that can be there. I'm sure you've seen this before. If not, just go back and go on Amazon, look at an author. But also for any of your sales through Amazon, it tracks all of that for you as well. And they also have free online help for any of the authors that are in their Amazon Central. Now, another thing that I learned from this publishing consultant, Amazon, among the statistics, will tell what position you are in certain categories. So, you've probably seen, sure, someone like Stephen King is #1 in, nonfiction horror, just to make up a category. And if you were competing in fiction horror, and if you were competing against Stephen King, you would probably not be #1. But not initially anyway. Hopefully you'll get there. Well, you can actually create your own category in Amazon. Or you can find a category that is not popular, and then place your book in that category. And then when you do that, send out a mass email to everybody you know saying, download my book from Kindle for free or for $1. Make it, all your family will be happy to spend $1. Just make it, you're not making any money on it. But now what will happen is, for about 1 week, you might be the largest volume seller in a smaller category. So as you start promoting yourself, you could say, I was #1 on Amazon's oddball fiction category, whatever it is. And that will be very true, even if it was for 1 week in an odd category, and at least you can boast you were #1. So little strategies like that you may want to consider doing. Audible. Audible is an Amazon company, and what Audible is, they basically produce spoken audio entertainment. So you may want to promote your book on Audible as well. So what they basically do is they sell, or you can listen to digital audio books, radio programs, TV programs, audio versions of magazines and newspapers that have been transcribed. So it's a tremendous amount of Audible content that's there. And this is a very popular platform, especially since now you can keep your phone in your car and streaming. Some cars are internet enabled and can stream. So people are listening to digital content and spoken content all the time, whether they're walking about or driving about or biking. So it's a great way to get your content out there. And so you're basically selling through Amazon.com, because Audible is an Amazon company. And there is a subscription to use the entire service. You might try it for free for 30 days. After that, it's only $14.95 a month. So take a look, see if that platform makes sense. And by the way, with any of these platforms, you may not all try them tomorrow. You may begin to develop your strategy first, and then you'll pick one to start. But I'm just giving you a bunch that you can consider. Goodreads. Hopefully you've heard of Goodreads. Goodreads, a few years ago, was actually acquired by Amazon. So Amazon is the, I guess, the great white shark in the publishing and book industry. So it is owned by Amazon, but they have right now more than 90 million users that just love books. And this was as of a little over about a year and a half ago, that statistic that I found. I haven't found one that's more current. And so basically what they're doing is they're helping people find books and share books. So it becomes a bit of a community. It's very much a social media site where people start talking about their books and rating the books that they're reading. So it's really an audience of readers, and the authors want to get their information out there so that they can begin to be found by a reading audience. For the end user, it's free. Got a question?
Yeah, is Goodreads mostly for fiction or both fiction and nonfiction?
As far as I know, it's for anything. Yep.
Thank you.
So yeah, so what you kind of do is, as a user, is you're creating a, your personal bookshelf, the things that you read. You get to rate them, and you get to see what others are reading. And so you could maybe find something new. So, what you're hoping to do is start to develop a little bit of a presence on Goodreads, because it may generate some buzz about your publications. And then in addition, it's free, but as an author, you can actually publish or promote these advertisements. I don't have the pricing for them, but it's kind of a pay-per-click model. It's almost like, you know, people boosts posts in Facebook. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. Or Google Ads on the internet, where you can get your ad absolutely viewed up to the top. And so you'll have to see about the pricing for that. I didn't get any reliable information, but also I don't have a Goodreads account. It's not something I'm active with right now. So I didn't get you that pricing, but it's extra, it's optional. You don't have to do that, but it can be helpful, pay-per-click advertising. Another one is called Issue, and that's at issue.com. And this is their tagline, connecting content to people. This is more than just books. It's all sorts of content. So it is a digital publishing platform. It's for newspapers, DIY guides, magazines, corporate literature. So they have a wide variety of publications that they're trying to share and publish. If you are a catalog writer, you can even get your content over there. If you have a portfolio of short stories, you can put them there. So it's really a nice platform for that. They do give you publishing tools to get your content online. A lot of these sites do. It is free. The free service comes with ads. You have to decide if you want that or not, but you get a whole lot more features and no ads starting at $19 a month. And by the way, all these subscription prices I did check this week, so these are the current pricing. Some services have multiple price levels. You'll have to see and compare if the pricing makes sense for you. You might start free and then see if you want to increase and use other features along the way. Scribed is another one. This is basically a subscription reading. You can read basically anytime, anywhere, on any device. So it may be an optimal way for you to place for you to put the material that you're selling and writing. So their catalog, it's over 500,000 audio and print books. It's a digital library. And the audience tends to be everything in the reading world, in the publishing world, authors, publishers, readers. So this may be a good place to promote and begin to be found. And you can publish documents for free. And so this 100 megabyte size, this is give or take about a 500-page document. So for a book, that may be, or 2 books, you may be able to get that. If you want to use this subscription in an unlimited fashion, it's $9.99 a month. You could try it for free for 30 days. Yep, so that's another one. And then Kindle Unlimited. And oops, I do see a mistake in this slide that you won't pick up. But Kindle Unlimited is also an Amazon service. It's their Kindle service. They have over 1 million ebooks online, so you can publish your book as an ebook. But if you become a Kindle Unlimited customer, for any of these books that they have online, it's unlimited reading or listening on any device. Kindle does have apps for the phone, in addition to you can use it on your PC and other places as well. And so because it's on any device, people can read anywhere. So directly from the Kindle app or from the computer. Okay. It's 30 days for free. Otherwise, it's $9.99 a month. If you have Amazon Prime, Kindle Unlimited is not included in Amazon Prime. So Amazon Prime gives you the free shipping and lots of music and lots of movies. Kindle Unlimited is separate. But on the other hand, if you are fond of reading on a Kindle, don't buy the books separately on Kindle. You may want this service instead. So these are services where you can begin to promote and publish and make yourself known. What about some of the big social media platforms? There are certainly a number of them out there. And remember, we're not teaching you how to use these. We're really giving you food for thought about what's available. So hopefully you'll make a good decision about the places that you need to be. So Facebook, bottom line is Facebook is the largest social media site on the planet. They have at the end of last year, over 2.8 billion users, which means more than a quarter of the planet uses Facebook. And the concept of Facebook having, if you want to have more than one account, or should you have one account, my feeling is it depends. I agree pretty much with the LinkedIn philosophy of keeping the one account. But what happens is a lot of people like to use Facebook very personally to share pictures and photos with friends and family. And then you'll have a professional side that's going to be a little bit different. So Facebook is a little bit different platform in that way than LinkedIn. And it may make sense to have a very public Facebook profile for your writing and your business, and a very private profile that you share with your real friends, not just the Facebook friends. Facebook, as I showed you in the chart a little bit earlier, is also very good for reaching a consumer-based audience rather than a commercial audience. Although, if you are looking to reach businesses tend to be on Facebook, especially businesses that are B2C, like Procter & Gamble, who makes Tide, or Home Depot, and other businesses that reach out to end user customers, they'll also be on Facebook. But the B2C businesses, or the B2B businesses, not as much. LinkedIn, we mentioned it. We also had the question a little bit earlier. It is #1 for reaching a business audience. You can publish a lot more information on LinkedIn than what used to be. They keep adding the ability to add more and more content, but it's now used by over 740 million people in 20 countries. It does have a very large reach. This tends to be much more of a B2B platform. And one way you know it's a B2B platform, there's not any place you can put a lot of pictures to share pictures and photos with grandma and the kids and all that kind of stuff. It's really meant to be more a professional-based audience. Twitter. So I briefly mentioned Twitter before. Usually Twitter is good for short messages because the most you can type is 280 characters. Some people call that micro-blogging because you're writing just a little bit. Of course, you can put links and pictures in your Twitter tweet as well. And but it's also very common because you're writing a little bit less. You're really using it to kind of inform people of stuff. You're not really writing a whole post or a whole message, but you might be informing them, hey, I just posted this, click here to go find it, that kind of thing. I'll be at a certain presentation, I'll be doing a class, I'll be hosting an online forum, whatever. You'll start publishing that kind of information. Twitter actually counts their user base a little bit differently. They no longer report total users. They're now reporting on average 192 million daily active users. So there's 192 million people that use Twitter every day. Total users is in the ballpark of about 320 or 30 million people. And if you're wondering, because a lot of people wonder, how good is Twitter? Is it worthwhile? And the short answer is yes. Like any of these platforms, they do reach an audience. And if you think about the way President Trump used Twitter as a means for getting his message out, I'm not talking about the content, but the effectiveness of him promoting his message. It was very effective for him. So he's someone who learned how to use it very effectively. And even if you don't use Twitter very often, you probably heard about some of the information that the president tweeted, because other people that you were likely following, maybe like local news services and stuff, would report on an announcement that the president made, the former president made by Twitter. And that's the way social media works. Somebody hears something and shares it with other people. And so that's really the way that it's meant to be used, to be able to get your message among people by it being forwarded and shared. Blogging. If you're a writer, blogging may be almost natural to you. And so what blogging is, it's basically a website, or maybe it's just a page on your own website. And those pages are called posts. Those articles are called posts. And if you haven't seen a blog before, typically it's not long. I mean, I've seen long ones certainly, but it's not uncommon to be the equivalent of about a written page, so 500 to 600 words. You don't have to. You can write just about anything that you want. You can write a few short paragraphs. It can be your opinion. It doesn't have to be anything new. You can comment on something else that you've heard. If you want to publish small snippets of your book, you can do that as well. You could put a page out there and then click here to read more or to stream my book or to buy it. So you can do a link on it. You can post on your own site, which I'm a big fan of. We're going to talk about websites in just a moment, or on other people that have a blogging platform. You can publish a post on other sites as well. And really what it does is it helps you promote and demonstrate your interests and your passions. And so blogging becomes a great vehicle for putting a lot of information out, compared to Twitter, that you're going to put 280 characters out. This is a lot more robust. Oh, another intermission point. So, any questions at this point? Anything new? Scratching your head about something? Curious? Want to get a sandwich? So.
Just to let you know, I'll have to sign off at 7:15, so don't be
Okay.
surprised if I disappear.
Okay, I won't take it personally.
Good, no,
But
don't.
what you should know, because you'll miss this, it's at the end. My website is where this presentation is located.
Okay,
And I have a slide at the end, which you're not going to see. So my website, if you look in the bottom right corner of the presentation, the name of my company is PrincetonTechnologyAdvisors.com.
got it. Thank you.
Then in the middle, you'll see a menu item called Workshops.
Okay,
And when you click on there, click on the link for recent workshops.
got it. All right, thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
And then you'll be able to download both the video probably by tomorrow, but the slide deck is there right now. Yeah. As well as my contact information is in the slide deck. So if you have a question afterwards, feel free to contact me. But thank you for letting me know. Okay. So let's talk about websites. The short answer, if you're wondering, do I need a website? I think yes, I think you do need a website. Now, when you have a website, you want it to be what's called mobile or responsive design. And if you're wondering if that's a big deal, it's not. It's the way we build websites now. What it basically means is that the web pages can be viewed in any screen size. If you open up a website like on your smartphone or your tablet, and it becomes like an eye chart of the whole page, that's not a responsive design. That's very hard to read. But if you've noticed that the website sometimes makes the content a little bit longer and stacks up the pictures vertically instead of horizontally on a wide screen, that kind of adjustment, that's responsive. It's responsive to the screen. So it doesn't matter if you're on a wide desktop monitor or a square tablet or laptop monitor or a long skinny phone monitor, it adjusts. So it's able to adjust to all the different types of screen formats. If you talk to a programmer and someone says, I got to charge you extra for a website that's responsive, get rid of them. It doesn't cost more. I'm just letting you know, make sure that you do it that way. So for us as web programmers, it's very flexible for us design. And more importantly, it's very flexible for mobile viewing. And by the way, if you're going to be mostly promoting to a younger audience, it becomes important because about 20% of millennials don't even use a large format computer or a large format monitor. My nephew recently graduated from college. He did last June, but 4 years earlier when he was preparing, I asked him if he was going to buy a new laptop for school, and he seemed all disappointed. He said, yeah, I have to. The school requires it. I wasn't going to do that. So there was a young gentleman who was 18 at the time. Now he's 23. He just didn't want a computer. He preferred to work on a phone. If your audience is younger, they're more likely to work on mobile device. If your audience is older, they may not be as interested in mobile devices. Just be aware you're communicating to your audience. About the content that you're going to put on your website, it needs to be descriptive, but it can't be too wordy. Don't have a very wordy website, especially at the pages that are kind of at the top of the pyramid, like your home page or your about page, the ones that are kind of at the top. Now, you've probably seen on websites, on one web page, you can click to another web page and another web page as you're learning or digging deeper into whatever the content is. The further down the layers you go, you can get away with writing more content because by now you have somebody who's interested. But when it's more at the top, not as wordy. You want to make sure you, throughout your website, include keywords. These are words or phrases that people may use to search for someone like you. And these have to be the words that other people would use, not what you think you should use. And that becomes very important because you're biased. You think you may think they have to look a certain way to find your book. They must search a certain way to find you, but that may not be the natural way of doing it. I spoke to a gentleman about 2 years ago, an author, and he wrote fiction based on real life events. He wrote about basically the Wild West in the Northern Plains states in give or take about the mid-19th century. But all his characters were fictional, but they were always at real events. You've probably seen the genre like this. A movie like Saving Private Ryan is that. It's really about World War II, but Private Ryan was a fictional character. So he and I had this discussion about keywords. And he said, well, I'm going to start putting the names of my characters more and more in my content. And I said, why would you do that? He said, because I want people to know my characters. I said, but how does that work in a search? People aren't going to know your characters. These are fictional characters. And his first comment was, well, they should know my characters. And I said, okay, but if they don't know you yet, they're not going to know your characters. So my advice to him was to use more of the words around the real life events and not to avoid adding the characters' names, but as you increase the number of keywords, they should be really what people are looking for. So if it was going to be battle at Wounded Knee as an example, that would be more important to someone who doesn't yet know him if he was writing about that, or Wild Wild West or other things like that. Now, I didn't help him with search engine optimization. I don't know really for him what the words are that he chose, but my advice was it has to be the way other people are going to search for you. Also, throughout your website, do add images, do add video. It generates interest. You know, picture's worth 1,000 words. And so that's what you want to do. So you want to have some of that on your website, certainly. Add links to other sites. And it sounds kind of funny. Why would I have a link that will take people away from my site? There are tricks for doing that. But the real reason is Google likes it. So in Google search, part of search engine optimization, Google likes when you have links to other sites that are similar to yours because it's kind of like a digital reference. Now, we could talk offline if you want ways of doing that so they can go to other sites, but don't lose your website's context. And among all your web pages, you must tell a consistent story. And you may say, well, of course, I'm an author. I'm going to tell a story. Yes and no. That's kind of an analogy. But any of these keywords that you figure are right, they should be the same few keywords and phrases that are used page to page. And the reason why is Google will read every page. Google is a voracious reader. And if it sees consistency, Google understands what your website's about. And in terms of how many times should you put your keywords and phrases there, the rule of thumb is about 2%. So for every 100 words, you'll use the same keyword or phrase, twice. And if you wrote a whole page of 500 words, they'll be there 10 times. Also, what's handy on a website, we call calls to action. And a calls to action is really a way to engage the reader on your website. So not only do you want someone to come to your website and hopefully engage them just from the content, you may want them to press a button, subscribe for an email, download some information, download a tips sheet that you have, anything like that. Really calls to action, increase message effectiveness, and keeps people on your website just a little bit longer. And that's what you want to do. Engage people, get people interested in you and your content. Okay. How are you doing with websites? You're okay? Got a question or two? Okay. E-commerce. Now, e-commerce is basically, and that's kind of a cute picture, but buying and selling things online, any of the social media or online channels. So hopefully for selling your book, you might be able to sell it through your website, through Amazon or the other services that are out there. Barnes & Noble, of course, B&N also has e-commerce for books. You can look at them. They're not as robust in terms of services as Amazon, but they're there. So that's what it is, selling content through electronic channels. It's also known as online shopping. And if you've lived through the pandemic for the last year, you've probably done a lot more online shopping than you used to do. I wish I was holding Amazon stock. What's nice about it is there's no geographical barrier. There's no time barrier. Somebody may want to buy something at 12 midnight. Someone else may want to buy something at 12 in the afternoon. You may only be able to go to a local bookstore to do a book reading, but they can buy your book no matter where they live. So there's no boundary of time or distance. The electronic goods can be sold anywhere throughout the country or the world. There are a bunch of tools out there that you may want to use if you're going to go down this path. eBay is a great place to actually start selling something. They do take a commission for the sale. It's actually not very big. They used to be only an online auction, but really more and more, you just buy it now, kind of like what's next to that Michael Kors purse. So if you only have a few things to sell, you don't want to yet invest in something like building an e-commerce website, eBay could be a great platform. I know every time I clean out my basement, I sell things on eBay. Amazon, you can actually have your own store on Amazon. You can create and brand. So in addition to having your Author Central page, you can sell product on Amazon as well. This particular listing from Amazon, I actually bought that floor mat, that doormat. So I thought it was interesting. But if you notice, it's being sold by a company called Matt's Factory. It's not being sold by Amazon. So maybe in addition to your book, you may have branded book covers or branded bookmarks or anything else you may want to sell that you can sell through your either eBay or online store. You can actually do e-commerce through your own website. There's a number of ways of doing it. And some website development tools have add-ons for doing basic e-commerce. And so that becomes available as well. And there are e-commerce platforms. Shopify is the largest, BigCommerce, Volusion are a few of them. And Shopify, and what these platforms are, you actually build a website in Shopify, but it's made for e-commerce. So it's really a web builder. And Shopify, give or take, is about $29 a month. I don't remember what the others cost. Now, almost all cases, you'll pay 2.5–3% for credit card processing as well. There's some best practices when using e-commerce, and among them, you certainly want to make a good first impression. I don't know if this guy's making a good first impression, but you're going to certainly have good written content, good images, so the pages as well as the products are going to look very good. You want to make sure that it's a platform that will work on mobile devices, because more and more we are shopping online. And also, it'd be ideal if you can have a platform that can accept customer reviews. We know Amazon has that, some of the others do as well. Because if someone is on the fence about buying what you're selling, but you have a very good rating, that may be an incentive to them to go ahead and buy it. Also, make it easy for them to purchase. Show all the prices up front. I'm a big fan of that. I don't know if any of you has ever done online shopping on Best Buy, as an example. I do shop occasionally at Best Buy. Every once in a while when I'm shopping, they do not show me a price if I was shopping for a laptop or a television. They do not. Instead, what they say is add it to the cart and then we'll show you the price. And I don't like that. That's like me having to almost buy it in order to find out that I do or don't want to buy it. So maybe they find statistically that people say, oh, it's in the cart, I'll buy it anyway. I happen not to like it. Make it easy. Show them the price. Have appealing shipping, whether it's free shipping or, no matter how much you buy, it's a small price, something. Just make it real easy and make it easy for them to check out. If they've got to go through a lot of hoops checking out, they may not finish it. So if you're going to be selling online, this is going to be really a best practice. And if you're the one who's going to be sending it to them, make sure you can fulfill the order. If all of a sudden you got hundreds of orders, make sure you have plenty of inventory, boxes, mailing labels, and the like, so that you can send it out quickly. Sometimes what like Amazon and the others will do, they will do the fulfillment if you send your product to their warehouse. Certainly the print on demand option can be done through them, and obviously the digital version is just done through them as well. But be aware, if you're selling anything like book covers and other things that you're going to keep in a closet until you sell it, make sure you can fill those orders. So here's the $64,000 question. This is the question that maybe you are absolutely waiting for. What is the best social media platform? And the short answer is it depends. It really depends on your audience, as we talked about before. You can't be on every social media platform. There's just too many that are out there. And your audience is not on every social media platform anyway. So no need to try and be on all of them. So you need to determine the one that is most relevant to your audience. What is your genre? Where does your audience hang out? You might be able to figure that out because you're searching in your genre when you're writing. And you're starting to see the platforms that are coming up and where people are starting to put content or comments. Also, look about your competitors. If you're writing in a certain genre and there are a couple of popular authors who write in the same genre, where are they hanging out online? You want to be where they are. And your first instinct may be, no, I want to stand out from them. I don't want to compete with that big name. But the truth is, you actually do. The reason why is they already figured out where your audience is, and your audience is hanging out there. You're just going to be one among many. And I'll give you an example. Let's say you decided to go out to eat, maybe a small family meal or something with your family, and you said, some sort of fast food restaurant will be good. And as you drive down the street, maybe the first one you see is McDonald's, just to pick a name. Well, what's across the street from McDonald's? And if you think about it, maybe it's Burger King, maybe it's Kentucky Fried Chicken. And then down the block from them will be KFC and a Taco Bell and all the others. The fast food restaurants figured out, after a while, they have now figured out it's best to group together. And the reason why is just because you want to go out to eat doesn't mean you figured out what you wanted. You might think about McDonald's because you're in the mood for a hamburger, but as soon as you see Taco Bell, you just say, I haven't had Mexican in a while. And you change your mind and you go after something else. And the same thing in shopping malls. Shopping malls now have food courts, but they never used to. Restaurants were promised to be kept away from each other to minimize competition. But the restaurants have figured out it pays to be near each other. The other store that figured this out was Lowe's. So if you ever went into Home Depot or Lowe's, Lowe's does not have a big department to figure out where they should put their stores. Home Depot does have a big department that figures out where's the best place to put their stores. Lowe's waits until after Home Depot builds a store, and they build one nearby. That's the way it works. So you want to be where your competitors and your audience are. And you'll try different things. Experiment, measure, and adjust. Remember at the beginning of the presentation, that circle. It does take a little bit of time to produce results. If you're lucky, you'll get it the first time. But you may need to tweak your strategy a little bit. Maybe change the platform you're going to be on. Change the writing in your message. Pick a different tool. See what works. Once you start getting some of your goals, meeting some of your goals, you'll stick with that. But you don't need to be on every platform. Start with one. So what do you do next? Just pick that one tool. If you think of social media as the 1,000-pound elephant, you'll never start it. You know that old joke, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So just start with one tool, the one where your audience is most likely to be. Sign up and create an account. That's really all you have to do. If you need, get some how-to assistance. There are webinars that you can find, YouTube videos. Ask people that you know for a little bit of help. Maybe there are classes that can help you, finding consultants if it's very technical. So if you need to, be effective, these may be ways to do it, to get some how-to assistance. And then get started and move forward. Should you be on a second platform? Should you be on a third and a fourth? Wait till you get good at the first one. When you're good at the first one, then move on to the second one. So take your time. So I thought I had an intermission here, but apparently I don't. So before we move on to analytics, which is measuring results, any questions that you guys have? I'm sure you're all ladies. You ladies have. Are you feeling a bit overwhelmed, or are you okay? Okay, no news is good news, so I'll accept that. So what analytics is, it's really monitoring your performance. And then if you need to, you make changes along the way. And there are a bunch of tools that are out there, but a lot of the social media platforms have them built in. And if you want to know the performance of your website, Google has a free tool for that as well. So what you want to do is you want to measure the results your results to see the effectiveness of your campaigns and your strategy. You'll see what's working. You'll see what's not working. It'll help you make better decisions. You'll focus more time and effort on the things that work, and you'll start moving away from the things that don't work, because your time is valuable. And basically, you're asking yourself, am I achieving my social media goals? And remember, it was a circular path. And if you're not quite achieving your goals, it may make time to make some adjustments. So Google Analytics. This is a completely free tool from Google. And the website is analytics.google.com. It's how you can tell how your website is performing. Now, there's a boatload of information there, and it does take a little bit of time to get used to going through it. But the types of information that you're interested in is, are you getting people viewing your page? Are they clicking links on your web pages? And something called bounce rate. Are they coming to your site and leaving right away? Where are they coming from? You can zoom right into the zip code if you want to. So, if you live in Princeton, you can see if there are a lot of people from the Princeton zip code, or are they in Mercer County, or are they in New Jersey? The fun thing is when you start seeing like, Princeton and Kingston and West Windsor and China. And so that was probably somebody trying to hack into your website. So you do see those sorts of things, but you're really interested in seeing this sort of performance. And then what you want to do is you want to look at that over time. So you can put in a start date and an end date, and you want to see, is it going up over time? And so there's a lot of information that's there. On social media, there's other types of criteria that you can look at. How many clicks? How many likes? How many followers do you have? Are they leaving comments? Impressions, how many people are coming and looking at your posts, right? How many views are you getting? So these are the types of things on the social media sites that you're going to look at. And you'll want to look at those over time as well. How did I do last month compared to this month? How did I do 3 months ago compared to now, the new quarter? Now, the analytics can't tell you what to do with the information. So if you had 50 page views last month and you have 150 page views this month, it can't tell you what to do with that. It can't tell you that that increase is good or bad. Really, any increase is good, but you have to decide what to do with the information. So you'll have to keep track of it over time or look at it over a wider period of time to see what the results are. But they give you the information where you can make decisions and adjust your strategy, or maybe even update your social media, your website content. So great tools that are out there that could be helpful. And by the way, Amazon will also, if you're selling on Amazon and some of the other booksellers, they'll give you analytics about the performance of your sales as well. So as we wrap up, using social media is basically using the internet to share information among people. Did that slide change? Are you looking at the summary slide? Okay, because I have an image of the slide that didn't change. Okay, good. So the social media strategy can include your website. It can include e-commerce, social media site and platforms, and more. There's just a lot that's out there. And then what you can do is monitor and tweak the tools that you use, the content you're writing, to improve your performance. Okay, and just get started with one. When you're new to social media and doing online campaigns, it can appear overwhelming. It can look like the Mount Everest of work that you have to do. So just start with one. As you get comfortable with it later, you can add another one if you want. And so it's up to you at your pace what you'll want to add. Okay. So as I was explaining to Elizabeth, you may have been taking notes. So this is my website. This is where you can find the presentation, the slide deck that we're using. So it's princetontechadvisors.com. or Princeton Technology Advisors, both will work. Got the two domains. And at the top, you'll click on workshops. And this is the workshop page. Click on recently offered programs. And really all of my programs from this year are right on that page. And then there are links below that to all prior years. So you can go back and get any of my presentation decks that you want. I just put them out for everybody. And so you'll see the link there for the slide deck. You'll be able to download it if you want and keep it for yourself. Probably by tomorrow, I hope, tomorrow afternoon, I'll have the video of this in case you want to watch the video again or watch a part of it. It'll be there. You'll see that hopefully by tomorrow afternoon. I know I'm very busy tomorrow morning with something, so hopefully I'll get to it before the end of the day.
A question?
Yep, perfect timing.
Are there people you can hire to do this kind of thing for you?
What is this kind of thing you want done?
To get you on a social media platform and monitor it for you? And
yep, there are people that do that. There are people that would write the content for you if you give them a little direction. There are people, if you want to build a website for you, you can do it, or you can do it on your own. So yep, there's people that will do things like that.
what are they called?
Social media content professionals, social media marketing professionals. I personally don't get into a lot of it myself. I can refer you to a couple people if that becomes important. You'd have to vet them on your own. I do the websites, and I build. I can build out your LinkedIn profile if that's something you want to get started. I work with a partner on Facebook who can help you with that platform. Yep. I know publishing consultants, if that'll be helpful for you as well, so I can connect you.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah. Personally, I kind of work a little bit as a general contractor. So, when people call me, I do a lot of work on my own, but if I need to bring in partners or make referrals, I find it's better for my clients to get someone who really has that expertise rather than on things that I'm just not as proficient at. Mhm. Sure. Any other questions? Cats cut your tongue? Probably means I should go watch Dr. Pole. He deals with cats.
No, I'd actually like to review the slides again and surface
Sure.
if I have any questions. In your emails. You've got it all there.
Yeah,
So
it's right there, and it'll be on the slide. This contact is on the slide deck as well, so you'll get this
perfect.
exact
I'm
slide
gonna
deck.
take a picture of this
And,
just because.
I
Yeah,
think
good.
the presentation was very, very good, very helpful.
So thank you. Yeah, again, I really meant this as an overview or an introduction, for people that are getting into this to promote their brand and promote their writing and get their name out there. I know there are other classes at the Princeton Adult School really deep diving into using some of these online and social media platforms. That was not the intent here. This was more from a strategy perspective.
Thank you very much. I
Yeah,
really
thank you.
enjoyed this.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I found it very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank
It was
you.
my pleasure. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Good
All
night,
right, if
all.
there's nothing
Good
else,
luck.
yeah, you have a good evening. Lots of good luck to you. I hope you all become successful writers, and I'll be look to be reading your stuff hopefully very soon.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Good
Have a
night.
good night, everybody.